Welcome to the Woodbury Word. I'm Wood.
And I'm Dre.
Good to be back with you guys. You know what we do here. It's a show about any and everything that affects the life of the modern man, the modern family. That's had real significant impact in the last few weeks. If we've just been turned upside down in the way that we do things. Looks like this is going to be the new normal. So as we all begin to find new patterns and new strategies to attack this thing, we feel like these conversations are that much more impactful now. Same as always, we try to bring you some dynamic folks, and today's guest is nothing short of that. He's a jack of all trades, as I like to see him as. A man after my own heart, because he's a Renaissance man, in the vein of Paul Robeson, in that he likes to do a lot, and in each endeavor that he sort of pursues has got to be impactful, and it's proven to be the case. Today we got my brother Ryan Jor-El with us. He's the founder, CEO of Black Fathers Rock, and he's got a host of other endeavors that he's a part of, and we'll let him get into that. But real quick, Ryan, while we got the folks, tell the folks who you are, where you're from, what you do.
So thank you, gentlemen, for having me. I really appreciate it. I like the Renaissance man thing because I try to do as much as I can with what I have. So I'm Ryan Jor-El. I am a native, actually, of Toledo, Ohio, but Charlotte raised me. I've lived in Charlotte off and on for about 25 years. So yes, the gray hair is proving to be my age a little bit. So background, fashion and retail, 20 years in that, but recently made a pivot within the last 5 years to something that has become my calling, and that's fatherhood. And so I started Black Fathers Rock. I'm a father of two. Peyton Baroness is my daughter. She's 5 and a daddy's girl. And Grayson Jeremiah is my son. And I don't know what he's going to be yet, but married 6 years and counting. And yeah, we're just glad to be a part of the show and look forward to some great dialogue.
Well, thanks for joining us, man. And we really appreciate it. We've known Ryan for a long time. And so we thought, man, we got to get Ryan on. Like, we had a short list of people who we need to get on. Ryan's at the top of the list. So you mentioned a key word in your description about pivoting. How did you pivot and get Black Fathers Rock started? I'm repping Black Fathers Rock here. In lieu of my sport coat and shirt. Only for
it's killing him too. I ain't got no clothes on right now.
But how did you pivot to get that started? What was the impetus? And what's been that driving force as we moved along throughout the various years that you've been doing?
I tell this story all the time, and I'll make it shorter, but I'll say this. I got an idea to do an award show for Black fathers in the summer of 2017. And I took out a black notebook and I wrote out everything that I wanted, from hosts who I wanted to host, potential venues, sponsors, potential honorees, things like that. And I dropped the first award show February of 2018 and had some great success. We had about 120 people there for the first show. I thought that was amazing. And after that, people were like, you should become a nonprofit. And I said, no, thank you. Because I didn't desire it. I just wanted to do the award show. And I started getting seed money, and people were like, you should become a nonprofit. And so I became a nonprofit that same year. And let me tell you, when you start, and I'll do this, when you start something that is God ordained, I always say, if God gives you a vision, he must give you provision. And so that was in February. I got seed money in April. I applied in May for my articles of incorporation for North Carolina. And to become a full-blown nonprofit. And by June 1st that same year, I was a full-blown nonprofit. And so for me, that showed me like, okay, God, you're in this. But of course, I'm new. Again, fashion and retail is my background. Starting a nonprofit was not something I wanted to do. It's just something that came as a result of me taking one step. And then we did our second award show in 2019. We did some events around the city around fatherhood. And so, for me, I changed my name on Instagram. That was a big deal because people know me as the fashion connoisseur. And I had to change my name to Ryan Jor-El because, as Wood said earlier, I do a lot. And so Black Fathers Rock even till recently was just my nonprofit. And so what I've learned when it comes to pivoting is that Black Fathers Rock, Fatherhood, is my new baby, right? So you may have known me in Charlotte for fashion for the last 20 years, and I'm still gonna be fly, right? But the focus is fatherhood, and I know my calling, my purpose is to be a beacon of fatherhood. And I started to shift and make sure that fatherhood became more of a lifestyle. So I share my kids a lot. I share my stories a lot. You know, I have a book called Fashion and Fatherhood, which you can see in the background, and that was about my journey to fatherhood because I was only a father for like a year when I wrote it. But it's been a pivot, and you have to adapt with the times. And so, although even now we're on a virtual show, I think there's going to be so many great things that are birthed through this pandemic. This being one of them that can spread throughout the nation. And so, long story short, recognizing what your purpose is and pivoting towards that and making sure you turn that purpose into a lifestyle is something that I've been able to do, or something that I'm in the process of doing even today.
Absolutely, man. And to follow up on pivoting, you've worn a lot of hats. I've known you as a style consultant. I've known you as an author, an on-air personality, a CEO, a father, a husband. What do you feel about wearing so many hats? Do you feel like I am entertaining the opportunities that the creator presents to me until one sticks, or this is really my lane, and it's just, and I think he's blessed me with so many gifts that as one opportunity opens, and regardless of what lane it's in, I got to walk through fully and entertain that space for as long as I'm supposed to be there.
It's both. It's both. So I knew a long time ago I was creative. Junior year in high school is when I really felt like I came into my own as it relates to fashion, and that being my knack. I didn't go to school for fashion. It was something that was innate, and I started dressing people in the city, and I started working for Ralph Lauren, Nordstrom, Saks Avenue. So I've been in that world, and so that is a gift that I know I've had. The many things that I did were still branches off of that fashion tree, right? So I started blogging. I started thrifting is how I really started, becoming known in Charlotte for thrifting and putting things together that were from a thrift store that you would never know was from a thrift store. I started fashion blogging. Then I started doing the interviews. I started doing fashion segments, the book, then TV. So all came based on the fashion piece. And so now the fatherhood piece, everything is kind of coming together because of that. And so the book was the catalyst for it all. And I didn't know at the time that was going to take me to where I am now with Black Fathers Rock. There was no Black Fathers Rock until 2 years ago. The book came out like 4 years ago. So that wasn't even like in my realm. But what I always say is I did something. And so I do try things and see what sticks. I'm going to try and make stuff and see what happens. That short sleeve hoodie that Dre is wearing, that was just an idea like, it's summertime. What can the new spring collection look like, right? And so I made one and I wore it, and then boom, people were like, oh, where'd you get that from? I'm like, oh, I made it. Okay, well, now I'm going to go make a line of short sleeve hoodies. And so for me, I do try a lot of things, but I'm getting to a space now, especially with the current climate, that I'm really honing in on fatherhood as a lifestyle. And so, no, you won't see any more pocket squares from Ryan Jor-El because that is not my lane anymore. Yes, you may know me for fashion, but I have moved, I have shifted, I have evolved. I'm a father, and that is the call on my life is to be a beacon of fatherhood and spread the gospel of fatherhood. And so Black Fathers Rock is a conduit of that. And for that, and connecting with people like yourselves who are great fathers who support the movement, it's only the beginning. You guys came to the last event. We took a fatherhood pledge because no matter what happens, and God forbid anything does happen between us and our wives or spouses or significant others, we're always going to be there for our children no matter what. And that is my focus. And so no more pocket squares. No, I'm not styling you for a wedding. I'm just it's not the lane anymore. So it's not the lane.
If you're out there and you need something for your wedding, Woodbury collection will be glad to step in. All right.
So that's it. Yeah. So that's funny. So people were asking me. So the funny thing is, we had a meeting. People were asking me, so what are you getting more pocket squares? And I said, if I do pocket squares, it's going through Woodbury collection. Because there's no point. I can do a Ryan Jor-El capsule collection with them. And I can pick all the patterns and they make them and they sell them. If that's what they want to do, fine. But as far as my focus, fashion is no longer my focus.
And so, speaking of that, I've got here a South Park magazine, which is a local magazine here in the Charlotte area. If you look closely, there's a gentleman. He looks very familiar right here. He was on the magazine cover, honored as one of the most stylish people in the city. Happened to be wearing Woodbury collection in that magazine. Another shameless plug. However,
Yeah. I got a suit up. I got to go try out. I can't get to you. I got to try the suit on.
Right.
But I have a question for you, Ryan, because for those of us, and even myself, still trying to figure this whole thing out in terms of what sticks. Do we try a bunch of different things? Do we just hone in on one? That whole journey.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like all of the steps, Ralph, Saks, Nordstrom, Pocket Squares, all of that, fashion consulting, somehow prepared you for the Black Fathers Rock and the focus on fatherhood, even though on the surface they seem different, seem to be two totally different industries, if you will. But do you feel like there was something that you learned in that experience that still makes you relevant today, even though you're kind of doing it in a different way?
Yeah, so everything's a part of the journey, right? So everything that you do is a part of your journey. And so even with all the things that I mentioned, again, the tree was fashion. Well, now the tree is fatherhood. And from fatherhood comes the apparel line. From fatherhood comes the dialogue with dads monthly meetings that we do. From fatherhood comes the new show that I just launched, Fatherhood Focus, a virtual conversation about fatherhood. So all those are still a part of that same tree. And so, for anybody who's out there, I always use the Jay-Z Puff Diddy example, right? So Jay-Z is a rapper, right? He got really, really good at rapping. Diddy got really, really good at being Bad Boy's producer / CEO. And then came Sean John, right? And then came Cologne, and then came making the band. You know what I'm saying? So Jay-Z, then came Rockaware. So he got good at one thing, really good at one thing, and then he was able to spread out. But you still go back. What does he come back to? Jay-Z retired how many times? He comes back to rapping. You know what I'm saying? That's what you know him for. And that has been a catalyst for Tidal. So now he's in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? So same way for me. Fashion was my thing for so many years. And yes, I was honored at South Park Magazine's Most Stylish in Charlotte. Like I said, I'm always be fly. But the focus, my new tree is fatherhood. And so everything else will be branches. So I would encourage anybody watching or listening that whatever your thing is, whatever that one thing is, get really, really good at that one thing. And then you can start branching out to other things. And you got to take risk. Without no risk, there's no reward. And so for me, I think a pivotal point in my life was when I realized in 2013 that I had to move. And when I left Charlotte and moved to DC in 2013, my life increased exponentially in those 3 years. I got married, got promoted, moved to New Jersey, had a kid, and then moved back to Charlotte all in 3 years. But it's because I took that first step. So whatever you're looking to do, that first thing that you do, get really good at that. And then everything else you can kind of spawn out.
Yeah, I think that tree analogy is so appropriate because you said it perfectly. Everything else that you do is a branch from the tree. If you reference a Jay, he always comes back to the rapping because that's the passion. The passion is the tree. That's what he's rooted in. And all the various business outlets grow from the root, which is the artistry of rapping, of putting words together, which is where his passion lies. So and what you've also pointed out is that your passion is not stagnant. So your passion started in fashion, and then it grew into fatherhood. So now fatherhood is the trunk of the tree, and then branches sort of grow out from that. So very appropriate.
So let me jump in here because I think this is really timely. So Wood knows this, but those of you who watch may not. Ryan, I'm not even sure if you know. So I'm completing my MBA right now. And the class, I'm in my capstone. I'm 3 weeks away from graduating. I never want to look at another book. I don't want to study again. I don't want to write another paper. I'm done. Finished. It's over. But this class that I'm in is talking about entrepreneurship and how to start a business. And one of the chapters talks about successful companies. I'm gonna try to be quick with this, but I think it has some value to the group.
Okay.
It talks about, Nike and, Starbucks and all the various companies. But it says that companies that are very successful over the long term are product focused. They focus on their product, and it could be the best product in the world. And short term, it works because the market is interested in what they're producing. They love it. But when something happens, either the market being the customers shift or the market being the environment changes, i.e. a pandemic, and now everything's virtual, companies that sustained are companies that solve problems. What do we mean by solving problems? Yes, we started off in clothing, but now we're providing you with athletic gear. Nike, for instance, they start off with running shoes, but they didn't stay there. So now on your smartwatch, you can get a Nike app to track your runs or your workouts. It's not falling in love with the product, falling in love with providing your customers value. That's what helps sustain. And so anytime you're pivoting, yes, pivoting is important, but don't fall so much in love with your product that you miss what the market is doing. So for us, Woodbury Collection, we're seeing, hey, it might be a while before we do appointments, but we're still bringing you value to solve problems. Right. Black Fathers Rock. Okay, we might not be able to do this event in person, but we're still here providing you resources to keep the conversation going. So for any business person out there, and Ryan, I know you've had to do this, and we're currently doing it now. Become solution based. If you get nothing else, become solution based. And so, Ryan, I know that you're doing a talk show. Talk to us about that. What sparked that idea, and where are you seeing it? Where you want to take it from here?
So 2 years ago, I reached out to my graphic designer to do a logo for a TV show that I had in mind called Roundtable with Ryan Drell. And this was before Jada's Red Table Talk or whatever, but that's fine. So anyway, but I sat on it because I was on TV every single week. And so I wasn't really concerned with my own show because I was on TV, right? So now I'm not on TV right now for the pandemic. I'm not considered an essential news person per se, which is fine. So it'll be a while before I go back on. But in the meantime, I launched Roundtable with Ryan Drell. Did it for about 3 or 4 weeks. Heard a sermon last week talking about purpose. And so I'm listening to the sermon and I'm like, I know my purpose. It's fatherhood. Like, okay, whatever. And then it hit me like, yes, you know your purpose, but you are not operating it as your lifestyle. And that is what you're called to do now. You're called to be a beacon of fatherhood. You're called to spread the gospel of fatherhood. So you need to make it more of a lifestyle. And then I got it. And I just sat down and I wrote out I probably have 12 names on my list with different topics about fatherhood. So Fatherhood Focus. It's a virtual talk show that is father focused and family friendly that'll discuss things that we deal with in fatherhood. So I launched that on this past Friday with a guy from New York called the Dad Gang. He's been in the fatherhood space since 2016. And so we talked about finding a purpose. So fatherhood became our purpose. Next week, and I'll drop this now since this will be an exclusive, I have somebody to come talk about blended families because that is a real life thing that we're talking about. So what does this discussion do? Not only does it showcase, that we're still doing something in that space, it provides resources and guidance and advice. And so Black Fathers Rock, yes, we have an award show every year. We also give back to the community. We also do growing up fatherless events. We also have events or our resources. We have attorneys on deck if you're dealing with a custody battle. So our job and our role is to provide resources to strengthen your family. And so Fatherhood Focus, the virtual talk show, really spawned from me hearing or knowing my purpose and then getting a revelation that I wasn't fully operating in it and then operating in it the next week. And so it's one thing to hear something. It's another thing to act on it. And as I said earlier, I just do stuff. And so after I did the first episode Friday, I ran to my wife. I said, this is it. This is it. This dialogue about fatherhood from men who are living and breathing this every single day, Black men that are in their homes. No one's talking about this. So yeah, everybody's doing virtual talk shows. No problem. No one is doing it like this. And so I got the revelation. I got to calm down because I get real passionate when I start talking about father.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. But it's so interesting that you talk about that, because it is fatherhood, especially in our community, is a topic that is seldomly broached, right? But most of us, we know deep down, either we're struggling, maybe we didn't have a model, or whatever the case may be. Maybe our situation is less than ideal. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing as some of the major one or two kind of pitfalls that fathers fall into that they really need help with?
The biggest one I've seen, honestly, is the custody thing. The custody battles are real. It is something that I don't have expertise in. The most I can do is pray for you and recommend you to an attorney. But I am seeing a lot of people that men that want to be a part of their children's lives, but A, the mother is using the kid as a pawn, or B, they don't have the finances and resources to fight the case. And so, if the mom up and leaves and moves to Chicago or New York, and you don't have the money or the resources to get to New York every week or every other month or whatever, then you're gonna lose your kids. And so I'm seeing that more and more, and I'm seeing dads that really are having a hard time taking care of their kids. I see a lot of single dads, believe it or not. Like, there are single dads out here that reach out to us on a regular basis asking for help, and so we take donations and things like that, but I can't right now. I don't have the resources to change your entire life. I can help you out. We can help you out. We can put you in contact with somebody, but I'm definitely seeing the resources pieces relates to custody and providing for their children when they're single parents.
Yeah, Ryan, that's one of the things that I love about Black Fathers Rock. I've been there from the beginning. I was working retail when you started. I remember not getting off until 10 and having to rush to your show just so I could catch some of your first show. I could catch some of it because I knew that it was a special moment that I needed to be a part of. And from the moment that you launched, and from the very first award show that you produced, what was evident was that this includes all fathers in all situations. Yep. We have a blended family, and those are challenges unlike any other. So when you talk about resources, you talk about the time, having the time to follow through and do what's right. Mm-hmm. It's a requirement that it's got to be. It can't be overstated that fathers, fellas, understand that there are resources to help you if you want to do the right thing. Right. And sometimes that's the hard part. There's something inside of most men that says, this is my responsibility. This is what I'm supposed to do, whether it be because I did not have that or because I had that and I know what an impact it had on me. But yep. Sometimes you can't get beyond that. You don't have the resources. You don't have the support. You don't think there's anyone else out there that understands this is what you're going through. But from the first time that I saw the show and the movement and what it was that you were trying to highlight and the people that you brought together, there was never a sense of shame put on any father who wasn't a part of a traditional family structure. Mm-hmm. There wasn't shame.
Yeah. It's about, I'm sorry. I want to inspire. We want to inspire. We don't want you to think that we're coming at you. We want you to be inspired to do better or to make that step and take that leap that you weren't taking initially. So
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. I might cry.
It's the blended families, and we're moving into a new space where those topics that we often don't like to broach are beginning to be discussed in open spaces. But blended families in the Black community is one of them. I came from a traditional family, so to have a child out of wedlock, as it was termed, was a challenge that I had to overcome. And it may seem like I'm on the other side of the challenge now, but that's a daily challenge. I tell most fathers that I encounter who are struggling with custody issues, who are trying to figure out how can I do what's right when so much is stacked up against me, when it's the court system, the family structure, employment, it's all stacked up against me. How do I do what's right? And the only advice I can give is, you know what's right. You know what's right. So that's always got to be the focus.
Right.
But in addition to that, there need to be resources. There needs to be support. And so we're thankful that you guys are offering that space and that platform for fathers.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man. We're running out of time. Feel free, Ryan, to plug whatever you got going on, where people can find you, what you got coming up next, and how everyone can support you, man.
Yeah, so just please just follow us on social media at BLK Fathers Rock. You can also go to blackfathersrock.org. If you type Fathers Rock anywhere, we should come up. So just type it in your server, type it in your URL. Follow us. There's a pair on blkfathersrock.org. I mean, just follow us at Black Fathers Rock. We're super excited and thankful to be on the show. And just we know that this gospel of fatherhood is going to spread globally. And so we're grateful to be the catalyst coming right out of Charlotte.
We appreciate you being with us, man, and everything that you're doing. Please, everyone, follow Black Fathers Rock. Follow Ryan. He's doing amazing work here. We didn't even really get to the tip of the iceberg today, but please follow him and follow the journey, and please support, contribute whatever you can. I know it would be appreciated. He's not asking; we're asking you to do it.
That's right.
So please be so kind and do that if it's impressed upon your heart. Well, that's all for us, man. Wood, you got anything else?
I'm good, man. Let's support those that are supporting good causes and pour into one another. And one day we're going to have a show about the degrees of separation that we have, how we met some of these folks. Ryan and I have some degrees of separation that are crazy. But another show. Till next time.
We appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm Dre. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us. It's the
Thank you for having me.
Peace.
Ciao.